Okay, for this next video reviewing the Unit 4 test review, we'll be looking at inscribed quadrilaterals. That's quadrilaterals where all 4 vertex points are on the edge of a circle. The key thing to remember there is that opposite angles directly across from each other in the quadrilateral, always add up to 180. The reason why that works is because the whole circle we know is 360. And we know that each inscribed angle is half of its arc. So if this angle ADC is 80 degrees, that means that the arc ABC has to be 160, twice as big as this angle. If the whole circle is 360 and this part is 160, that means that the major arc ADC has to be 360 minus 160, which is 200 degrees. And that means that this angle at B has to be 100 degrees. So 80 and 100, that's 180. Because these angles are half of their arcs, and their arcs add up to 360, the angles have to add up to half of 360, which is 180. And that will be true for A and C as well. So you don't have to go through all that rationale with the arcs and the angles every time. Just if you understand that that will always work, then you can just use this as your rule. So to get x, we're going to say 80 plus 4x, these two angles here, equals 180. I'm going to subtract 80 from both sides. That gives me 4x equals 100, divide by 4, and I get x equals 25 degrees. To get y, it's going to be very similar. I'm going to take these two opposite angles and set them equal to 180. So 3y plus, I don't really need the parentheses here, it doesn't add anything, so 2y minus 20, this plus this equals 180. I have a negative 20, so I'm going to add 20 to both sides. So on the right-hand side, I'll have 200. On the left-hand side, I can go ahead and combine like terms. I have 3y plus 2y. That gives me 5y. And finally, I just need to divide by 5. And I get that y equals 40. Okay, so I can plug back in and just make absolutely sure that these work. If x is 25, then 4 times x is 100. 80 plus 100 is 180. Perfect. If y is 40, 3 times y is 120. 2 times y would be 80, minus 20 is 60. 120 plus 60 equals 180. All right, I have a couple other problems in the review similar to that, number 19 and number 25. So there's actually extra information that you don't need to use right away, all right? In order to get x and y, you can just use the opposite angles in the quadrilateral. So x plus 70 equals 180, and all I have to do is subtract my 70, and I get x equals 110. So this is 110. All right, and y plus 82 equals 180. Subtract 82, and I get y equals 98 degrees. All right, that does leave z though. Z is something you have to work out a little bit harder, and that you can get just by saying, okay, if I know that angle x is 110, this is an inscribed angle, which means that the arc that it creates has to be twice as big as the inscribed angle. The angle is always half of the arc. So if this is 110, then this entire arc from this point up here all the way around to down here has to be 220. So z plus this part, z plus 120 has to equal 220, which is just 2 times 110 is how we got that 220. I just have to subtract 120 from both sides, and I get that Z is 100 degrees. So I have X, Y, and Z. Last problem like that, very similar actually, is number 25. This should have an arc sine over AB. So we'll get to that. First thing I would do, since I've got these two angles, I would just go ahead and figure out these other two angles. So angle A, we're going to have something plus 72 equals 180. So I'm just going to take 180 minus 72, gives me 108. So angle A is 108. Same thing for angle B. I've got something plus 88 equals 180. So I'm going to take 180 minus 88, and that gives me, let's see, 92 degrees. All right, so once I've got all that, it wants me to get AB, the arc AB, and angle ABC. Well, we just got angle ABC. That is 92 degrees. That's this angle right here. We just figured that out. To figure out arc AB, we just need to start using inscribed angles and the fact that they are half of their arc. So if angle B is 92 degrees, this whole arc ABC has to be twice as big, which would be 184. So that means that this piece right here, this little piece AD, is going to be, say, 2 times 92 was 184. It's going to be 184 minus this part here that we know is 90. That gives us 94 degrees. So we know that this arc is 94 degrees. We can do a similar trick here. If angle C is 72, arc DAB has to be twice as big as 72. So if we take twice 72, we get 144. That means that this arc is 144. This part of it is 94. So right here, arc AB, measure of arc AB, is going to be 144 minus this 94 that we got over here, which gives us 50 degrees for arc AB.